when did you actually begin with activism?
Um, when I was around 16 years old is
When
when I
you're
began being involved in activism.
okay. Well,
But
how did you move over into the AF movement?
well, I started watching Nick Fuentes on YouTube because first I was watching James Allsup, and I liked what Nick had to say. So that's what started to get me involved. But what really got me into the AF movement was there's a crew of nationalist activists in my area that I've known for many years, and gradually many of them began to listen to the AF movement, and it was kind of a natural progression. This group of people has transcended these fads and organizations. You know, it's more about those interpersonal bonds that we share. So we kind of moved over. It was the Groyper War at UCLA where Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump Jr. were heckled by us. I was one of the guys that was there, and many of those men that I met at that event are still working with me today. So,
Gotcha. So I wanted to ask you a couple quick things. First thing
sure.
is, what is the dissident right?
I would say the dissident right is a general term for people who and ideologies that are contrary to the current neoliberal or neoconservative political hegemony in America. So the dissident right can include monarchists, third positionists, paleoconservatives, pretty much anybody who is an enemy of this system.
Gotcha. And where did that term come from? Do you know?
That term specifically, I'm not familiar.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Do you consider yourself a member of the dissident right?
Yes.
Okay. And so when we talk about neocons, the way that I perceive neocons and neoliberals is I see them as pretty much being exactly the same thing. I don't see much of a delineation. The foreign policy is much the same. The economic policy is much the same. It's kind of a status quo. When I hear young men speak out about being on the dissident right, it seems to me that what they're really saying is that they reject the status quo. Do you think that that's an accurate characterization?
I would say so. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.